Yo,
All
it's
right,
Puggsy time.
it's Puggsy time. Apparently, we were all ready to go. What's up, guys? I'm Drex. I play this game called Puggsy. It's a game. I think it's special. I have a special guest here with me who's going to be doing some commentary. You guys might know who he is. You might not.
I'm off the blues.
He's played this game a little bit too.
Yeah. This game's really good. It's probably the only good game on the Sega Genesis.
If you're going to buy a Sega Genesis, now is the time and this is the game to get. Scoop these copies up before you can't find them on eBay anymore.
Yeah, get in on the ground floor of this hotness.
This is the hot speed game of 2018. Ugh. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started here. So, Boix, if you want to tell me when to count it down, I'll count it down for you.
Yeah, we can, I mean, you can just count it down and say go when you're entering the level.
Alright, so the timer starts when I hit my start button. So 3, 2, 1, and go.
So this is a really interesting game because despite what you may have seen in other games, this is one of the few retro games I've ever seen that has like a really well-polished physics system. It's pretty exploitable, but this game was pretty revolutionary for its time. I mean, the way that objects actually do interact with each other properly, and enemies interact with those objects, and you interact with those objects.
Yeah, and you can do some pretty neat stuff with the physics engine in this game. We've started to figure out a bunch of neat tricks, but I'm sure that as more people play the game and I play the game longer, we'll find out even more things we can do to kind of exploit it.
This game actually came out around the era of mascot platformers, so this character is probably, in many ways, meant to be its own sort of mascot platformer, the likes of Mario and Sonic and those sorts of games. So we've started to really appreciate all the different things that Puggsy is, because him being an alien from another planet, it's not really clear what he's supposed to be, but we have a lot of good ideas.
A lot of good ideas indeed. Including, Puggsy may or may not be a whoopee cushion inflated by baby coughs.
Yeah, that one was courtesy of Boix himself. So this is the first boss right here, Polypirate. A lot of these bosses have a pretty straightforward sort of idea of what you're supposed to do with them, but they're all very unique, which is nice. The premise of this game is that you crash land on this planet, and the only way to get your ship back is to beat all the Guardians. So all the bosses are very unique, very different.
And they're also not animated at all.
No, not for the most part. Yeah, this actually was released on the Amiga. It was released on the Genesis first, Genesis and Sega CD, but it did have a Amiga port as well, so you're not wrong to say that it kind of screams an Amiga game, but it does not look nearly as good on the Amiga, so don't get any ideas about playing that version.
Yeah, I think the frame rate on the Amiga is also a little low too.
And all these gorgeous backgrounds are replaced with just like blue.
Yeah, like gradient. Let's see if I hit that. Did I hit it? I hit it.
Man, you're good at that. I gotta learn your setup for that.
I've been practicing just a little bit.
So you need to take this key and this axe over to the other side of the stage, and it's kind of time consuming to get both items across. So being able to throw that key perfectly in order to get it to hit the lock and do its job without having to carry it around and figure out where it went if you just throw it is a big time save. Me and Drex actually have two very slightly different routes. I follow the tasks route a little more closely in terms of getting shoes really early and trying to carry them through the whole game. Drex opts, because of the fact that it doesn't actually save a whole lot of time, it's very small, it actually opts to get the shoes later in this level. It makes the game a lot more consistent, but boy howdy do I just like going fast. So this is another example of like interesting physics puzzles. There's this fan here that you can't get past, but if Pugsy's holding the weight, then he can sort of not get pushed backwards so much by the fan. And every level, I would say, does a really good job of having a unique sort of puzzle involved in it. There aren't very many levels that sort of repeat a theme. So he's taking a little detour here just to grab the shoes. The shoes, as you can see, make him much faster, and actually makes a lot of the platforming a lot more fun. Unfortunately, the way this game works is Puggsy doesn't have any health. If he takes one hit, he dies, but if you have shoes or if you have glasses, those count as extra hits. Unfortunately, the shoes take priority, so if you get hit, you lose the shoes first. That's a pretty big problem.
Oh boy, key went the wrong way.
You hate to see that happen.
Especially because it fell in here. Oh well. It's alright. Oh boy. Okay. Gonna try to do the new little time saver I found on this, where you can just do this with 3 items instead of 4 or 5 like we used to. 4 items instead of 5.
You're supposed to have to hold down 4 of the switches and then put a ball in the launcher.
Got it though.
But Drex figured out that if you give enough momentum to the ball in the launcher, you actually don't have to hold down the 4th switch, the switch that would activate the fan.
It was an accident one night. I was just going too fast and I forgot to put the item on the last switch, and it just happened to happen. So, but sometimes the ball gets stuck there and it doesn't go all the way. But it's actually pretty easily fixable because you can just grab another one, which I think is still quicker than getting an item up all the way to the top and all that. So.
Right. This is another example of a fairly unique boss in this. It's not a difficult fight. It certainly can be difficult to sort of figure out the timing of the ball with the holes, where he's going to be once he finally gets there, but this is not a particularly challenging boss.
If you were to blind play this game, you would be lost there. You would figure it out eventually. It's not super difficult, but...
So after every boss, we get this little cutscene showing how they're moving the ship around, which is what we're here for. We're looking for that ship. Now we get 2 nice little water levels back to back.
Yeah, and the water levels in this game are just awesome.
Yeah, water has... there's a really odd physics system in this game with water. Actually, like holding an item and moving it up and down in your hands can often help you swim or even jump out of the water. Not something that's probably intentional as far as the game's design is concerned, but it's sort of a manipulation of the way the physics engine works. So this stage right here is supposed to involve you bringing the rubber ducky all over the place, several of them, so that you can create stepping stones to jump across this water. But Drex very quickly managed to use the friction of the duck against the wall to sort of launch him up onto the platform.
Yeah, I got kind of lucky with that one, I think.
Yeah, that was a little faster than usual. Drex and I actually have different strats in that stage. I use the strat that the TAS uses. It's a little bit faster at the payoff of being pretty much impossible to pull off in real time.
Just taking it safe here. We got a good pace going on.
Yeah, this is a really nice run.
Nothing terrible has happened yet, but this is Puggsy, so who knows?
So this is the first stage we encounter that has multiple exits. We're going to go out one exit right now in order to work our way toward one boss, and then we're going to come back to the stage and take the other exit to head toward the rest of the game. So just a little detour, a fork in the road, if you will. These chimneys spit out clouds, and it's kind of random when they appear. They're probably on a timer, but in terms of how long it takes you to get there, it's more or less random at that point. But if you're gutsy like that, you can just run right through them and hope that a cloud doesn't hit you.
Yeah, so on that level, it's kind of safe to be a little bit more, to take a little risk because you have the sneakers right there if you do lose them. So That I've just found if you do hop that way too over the chimneys, you don't have to worry too much about getting hit by him. Oh hey, there's a key there now.
So that was a nice little exploiting the physics engine to avoid having to do part of the stage. You're supposed to sort of fight your way through those dancing wheat enemies and then take the torch over there to burn a rope. But by throwing the torch in a very specific way, you can get just to bounce to where the rope is. So this stage is a little bit obnoxious. He has to launch, I think it's 7?
7 coins is what's supposed to open it.
Yeah, so it's actually possible to manipulate this puzzle. The task does it in just 2 coins. It's not incredibly clear exactly how that works, but these coins have really weird interactions with each other, and in fact it's really easy to soft lock on this level. You can put all the coins you need in there, and sometimes the door just won't open. It happens when the coins start to overlap each other and they don't line up the way the game is intending for them to. This is also completely random chance, by the way. There's no way to know where that mouse is when you throw the eyeball down, and you're just waiting for him to push the eyeball to the left.
That was a really good stage, though. I did it in
good fortune.
8 shots, which is very, very uncommon. Usually I struggle there for a little bit, so it's going pretty good.
This would be the point right here where we would say, and now would be a good time for some donations.
Yeah, definitely. This stage you can't do any faster than it is.
Yeah, you're just waiting on all of these sacks of flour to land on the 4 switches at the bottom of the screen, and he is down there manipulating the switches which reverse the directions of some of the conveyor belts. So he's just trying to get them to where they need to go. So here he's waiting for the last switch to fire, and the door will open.
This boss throws its own weakness at you. It's really smart.
Yeah, he throws sacks of flour that you have to hit him with. Each of the switches does something slightly different in this contraption, and it's easy to sort of get perplexed by it. If you just look at the levers and what they're affecting on the gears, it's easy to be somewhat confused by it. But once you kind of memorize the order to hit the switches, and believe me, there's a lot of switches to be hit there, you can do it pretty quickly. So as Drex mentioned, there was a pair of sneakers there. This becomes sort of, for at least a little while, the new place to pick up backup sneakers if he loses them. For the rest of the run, the sneakers do become pretty important to the routing for the stages, so losing them almost always constitutes going back for more sneakers.
It's actually possible to beat every single level without sneakers, but it becomes very, very difficult, especially towards the end of the game.
Yeah, the difference between beating a level without sneakers and going back and getting sneakers and then beating them with the sneakers, often going back is going to be the faster choice.
Because a lot of times with the sneakers, you have to beat the level with the entirely intended method of doing so, which is often very time-consuming.
When this game came out, they were very proud of themselves with buzzwords like total object interaction, the way that every single object that you can pick up sort of interacts with each other. It was pretty, I mean, they at least were pretty proud of themselves, but in reality it does make for a very interesting speed game, because I think one of the nice things about games like this is that when you have such well-developed physics engines that permit so many clever puzzles, you end up with a game that has a lot of variety and a lot of opportunity to beat levels in unintended ways. And we'll actually see a little bit of that later, where we'll start to more or less just start skipping stages, or at least large portions of stages, by using that physics engine and using the extra speed you get from shoes and things like that.
Yeah, there's one stage really early on, the Redwoods 1, where you skip a very, very long puzzle, but that level goes so quick that you don't even realize now that you're doing anything different. Oh boy. Missed a cycle. I can still maybe get a 2-cycle on this. It'll be difficult, but...
Yeah, that first hit on the second cycle is always the tough one.
I don't think I got it, though. No, 3-cycle. That's okay. Oh.
Yeah, he takes 7 hits to kill, and he's available for about 4 hits per cycle, so that means you can only afford to miss 1 potential shot in the first 2 cycles to still get the 2-cycle. And one of those hits is nearly impossible. I've practiced it a lot, and I can't imagine it's more than a few frames for the window for it.
I get it about 70% of the time, but still, it's usually a 3-cycle fight.
So what he just did there, using that ball to climb up that wall, actually more difficult than it looks, and it is definitely a sequence break for this level. You're expected to use the ball to climb up, but then bring something else back to allow you to get the ball up there. That's a tough trick, actually, using the ball, like holding it against a wall to climb the wall. That's pretty tough. That stage there is pure action. You have a guy chasing you, and you have to drop sacks behind you to get him to slow down. If you miss really more than maybe 1 or 2, it becomes incredibly difficult to finish the level.
This is a level that I need a lot of work on because I'm not good at enemy cycles, so this is something that your routing or your run would probably do a lot quicker than me.
Yeah, I'm a little bit faster on this level, but that's just because, you know, you memorize where to jump and just assume all the enemies are going to be in the right spots. But ddrreexx has spent a lot of time coming up with routes for this game. He does some stuff borrowed from the tasks, he does some stuff he came up with on his own, and there's certainly quite a few strats that, since the task version of them aren't RTA viable, he's actually come up with a lot of really clever ways to achieve more or less the same time just with, you know, human reproducible strats. The task can hold items in hand and use them to fly. Every time you grab an item, you gain just a tiny bit of height, so by rapidly alternating between letting go and grabbing an item, you can actually just fly. And so creating quick strats is not as simple as just doing what the task does. You actually have to come up with some new things, like that strat right there.
Oh, thanks, Boix, for reminding me. I didn't I didn't want to bring attention to that, but yes, it is my birthday today.
Oh, hey, today's ddrreexx's birthday. Everyone say happy birthday.
So yeah, that skip on the on Diamond Mines 2, that is something new that in the last couple of weeks I kind of figured out.
That stage is actually pretty time-consuming if you do it the intended way. You're supposed to bring down all 3 pieces of TNT to clear a path for the minecart, but doing it just by throwing 1 piece of TNT by hand is a really big improvement. So
the task does it in a not the same fashion, but I think my method is just about as fast. The task makes a crazy, crazy throw there.
Yet another pure action stage. He's just trying to avoid taking a hit so he doesn't lose his shoes.
Oh man, I missed that 4th guy there, so I gotta wait. I don't wanna do anything crazy here. Okay. We're out of the danger zone now.
Oh, nice. So you can actually skip a little bit of this puzzle right here if you have the shoes. You can do a little bit more platforming. You're supposed to have to place 4 items in order to give you stairs, but... So this boss, like to refer to him as Twinkle Toes by the way he moves. You can actually do this boss really fast. You can get double hits on him if you land your first hit as soon as possible and your last hit as late as possible. You can get 2 hits per cycle. I think that was your second double hit, right?
Yep. Thought I was going to finish it off.
The timing for it's very tough. It's a really narrow window, and there's really no visual cue for when to jump. You just have to sort of have in mind what the timing is. So getting any double hits are impressive, but getting 2 in one fight is pretty nice.
Yeah, it changes it from a 7-cycle fight to a potentially a 4-cycle fight if you can get double hits.
Yeah, you can get in 4 cycles if you don't miss more than 1 of the double hits. What is the story behind this level? What are the specific letters supposed to represent?
Absolutely no idea. MRC are the letters that you have to put on the certain blocks in the wall to open the gate there, but we got no idea what that means, so.
Good design. So this is probably one of the bigger skips. This level requires you to bring a whole bunch of items to the pot to create a speed potion. ddrreexx is actually going to try to just use this item to jump straight up there, and there's actually a really nice backup that he discovered really recently. You want to use that item to just jump across the gap, but if you time it out, you can actually just use the item to catch onto the doorway. Even missing the cycle, this saves a massive amount of time over doing it right.
Yeah, even missing this a couple of times is absolutely fine here. This is more tricky than it looks like it should be.
Yeah.
You have to hold it at the right angle, and it's just, sometimes it doesn't want to work with you. Oh boy, and then I just forgot to jump. This is just making up for all the other good fortune I've had so far this run.
It all has to balance out in some sort of karmic conspiracy.
There we go.
So even having to try that a few times, that was still faster than probably doing it normally. You bring, I think, 4 items to the pot, and it produces a potion that allows you to get a lot of speed, so you can just sort of jump that gap naturally. Ultimately, skipping that is a huge time save.
Alright, let's see if the hummingbird wants to be nice to me today. This is another big...
Yeah, this hummingbird's probably one of the meanest enemies in the game. He's sort of... It's not random, but it's not really manipulatable whether or not he goes up or down, and you need to go under him without taking a hit.
You can also jump on top of him, but the window for doing it is really, really small. So if you can go under him and then toss a TNT at him to clear your path for the way back, it's the easiest thing to do. But getting
it's
through,
almost always best to just sort of wait it out and wait for him to move out of the way.
Yeah, getting through this level with sneakers is always good for a run. It's a pretty hard thing to do. It's another level where if you don't have the sneakers, you got to do a lot of crazy stuff to beat the level, but with sneakers, we're just in and out.
I guess now's not a bad time to mention a few of the things that Puggsy definitely is. He can best be described as what you get when a hammerhead shark and a blobfish have a baby.
I've also been told that he is the offspring of a ugly fig and an even uglier persimmon.
It's very specific, but probably not totally inaccurate.
Oh boy, get up there. That almost went bad. We've also heard Puggsy is a
water balloon filled with expired jello.
Or a Richard Nixon mask filled with expired tapioca pudding.
A sausage casing filled with squirrel blood. That's always my go-to.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. That was one of the earlier ones. It has a, I don't know, has a special place in my heart. But Puggsy is still sexy.
He looks like the Kool-Aid Man after a botched facelift.
So what I'm doing here on this level is I'm just alternating the tubes that I drop this object down. We start off with a round object, and our clue down there is the number 6. So we have to do this 6 times, and then we get this big nut right here that we can just take, and bam, that's the key.
Yeah, it's not totally obvious, but the puzzle is hinting at needing something that's 6-sided. So the first thing's a circle, which only has, one side. And the second part's a heart, which has, 2 sides to it. A triangle is 3 sides. A square is 4 sides. The gem is a 5-sided figure, and then lastly, you get the hexagonal nut, which is 6-sided.
All right, I'm just using a safety strat on this level because I don't want to lose sneakers here.
Yeah, the fastest strat on this stage, at least that I've come up with, is really a tight window. It's very difficult to not take a hit. And ultimately, even if you do it right, it can be hard to catch the balloon up at the top in time. So it's a little bit safer at the cost of maybe like 10 seconds.
This level right here, actually, if you did a casual playthrough of this game, I would say this is one of the harder stages because of what you have to do here.
But we'll skip all of it.
A little bit of getting used to the mechanics of this, but you have to catch this cannonball out of midair there, which could be a little difficult. It was actually something that I didn't get right for quite a while when I started playing this game. Now we have the hardest level in the game.
So there's a lot of different ways you can solve this stage. The intended strat is not going to happen here. But what he's going to attempt to do, he needs to get this icicle-shaped object over to the other pedestal on the other side. Unfortunately, if it hits the ground, it's very difficult to pick back up, so he needs to be very careful not to sort of like land it in here. Otherwise, he has to do a little bit of manipulation to get it to come out of here. If you were playing this casually, this would be where you would just reset the level, but we've sort of figured out ways to recover from there. So here he's just running to the final boss, so we'll try to fit in a few more. Puggsy is a spoiled ham sandwich from a gas station vending machine.
Another ham-related one I've heard is that he is a ham wearing a uterus costume.
That makes sense. I get that one. He is a water balloon underfilled with beet juice. I like that one.
Alright, guys. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but this is a world record.
Wait, that's the pace you're on right now?
Yep.
Oh, just casual world record. No
just casual world record. So this boss, there's a magic pixel here. You stand on it. It's not really 1 pixel. It's actually much larger than 1 pixel. And you don't get hit.
Really good pace. Holy crap. Yeah, so it's pretty hard casually to get more than 1 hit on a cycle on him, but if you stand in that really precise spot, not only do you not take damage, but it allows you to get double hits per phase, so it turns this fight into just 4 cycles. Which is really nice. And time's coming up.
And time. 27:24 is what I think I saw. So yeah, that's Puggsy for you guys.
If you've never played this game, I recommend it. I kind of fell in love with watching ddrreexx speedrun it because it's such a unique speedrun. And I recommend that even if you don't have any interest in speedrunning this game, if you just want kind of a neat, puzzly platformer to play casually, you definitely give it a shot because all of the levels are really unique and you really didn't even see all of them. There's more to this game.
Yeah, there's a... we can't quite call it a 100% run that's going to happen eventually with this game, because 100% would usually mean that you complete everything that that's available in the game. But if you do the route with the secret levels, the game just ends after 50 levels. It doesn't let you do the last little maze or the last boss. So we don't quite know what to call it yet, but there's a lot more to see in this game. Also, look out for Puggsy Part 2 coming soon.
I still believe.
I still believe too.
If you really pay attention and listen to these ending credits, like watch them go by, you can really see the inspiration from the original demo scene days. This game, as might have been mentioned in the chat already, was sort of based on a demo that was produced by a group called Dionysus, and they were sort of acquired by Psygnosis to make this game. And they were all members of the old demo scene, and so these credits just really look a lot like the old demo scene days.
Yeah, this the credits also have a math problem in it. And if you solve the math problem and you use that to put in a password, you open up, I believe, 5 secret ultra bonus stages that are just kind of some weird things that they were messing around with, like pushing the limits of what the game could do with the physics engine.
So definitely give ddrreexx a follow. He's really good at this game. He's put a lot of effort into it. So check him out.
Yep. If you don't know, it's ddrreexx. I've been fighting with Twitch about it for a while, but I would appreciate a follow, but don't feel obligated. But if you do want to play a pretty fun game that is very underappreciated, I definitely recommend checking out Puggsy. If you're going to be playing the game via an emulator, there is a patch that you will need for it. All the resources are available on speedrun.com on the Puggsy page, and there's a separate patch for if you want to use it on an EverDrive. And if you are able to find the game, it's pretty cheap, like $6 to $10 loose, and like $20 with a box and a manual. The cover art for the game is amazing. I definitely recommend picking it up if you're a Genesis collector.
If you're trying to play it and you're struggling to play it, find one of us. We'll help you.
Yep.
Because this game has some pretty interesting piracy protection, copy protection on it. Basically, if you play the game and the game thinks it's a pirated version, then Puggsy can't jump, can't run, can't do anything great, and the game ends after 5 levels. So.
Actually, if since we beat that a little bit quicker than estimate, if Boix doesn't mind, I'll show you guys the anti-piracy message real quick.
Boix says go for it.
All right, let's do it.
So the way that this game detects piracy is that because all of the basically all the copy carts from the era had save RAM built into them, so you could save your game, but Puggsy doesn't use save RAM. There's actually no save RAM built into the official cart. It tries to write to the save RAM, and if it fails, then it knows it's a legitimate cartridge. If it succeeds, then it thinks it's a pirated version. So as you can see right here, he's moving a lot slower. He can't jump as high.
Yeah, it's something that if you were playing the game and you didn't know it was going to happen, you'd be very surprised by it. You would also think the game is much harder than it actually is. Not saying that's not a difficult game, but with the anti-piracy features enabled, it's very difficult.
Yeah, so if you're playing this on emulator, most emulators have the ability to just turn off SRAM, so that'll fix that. If you're playing on like an EverDrive, there's a pretty simple way to patch your ROM so that it doesn't succeed in writing to SRAM, and the game then thinks it's legitimate. In either case, whatever you end up doing, just let us know and we'll help you play the game, because everyone really should play this game. It's a really neat game. If you like video games, boy, do I have one for you.
Yeah, it's if you took this game at face value, you might think it's a bad game, but see, I can't even jump that creature there with this anti-piracy mode enabled. But yeah, it's definitely a solid game. Very well coded. There we haven't found any kind of out of bounds or wall clipping or anything like that in this game.
No, there's some basic exploiting the physics engine, but there's really nothing super game breaking, which is both a blessing and a curse in a lot of ways. So you got this pirated version of the game. You get into the first boss, and you're happy. You think everything's going great.
Hey, what the heck? Oh, there it is. Okay, that's all the levels of Puggsy you're allowed to play now. Go and play a cartridge version of the game instead of this silly copy. Thanks, Traveler's Tales 93.
By the way, if you look at the top line, it says, okay, that's all VV levels.
Oh, it does say all VV levels.
Also the wrong your, but I'm not going to copy edit their piracy message.
Well, yeah, guys, that is it. That's Puggsy. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, thank you guys for checking it out. Thanks for watching Valuethon 4. Author Blues, thanks for commentating. I think you commentating took a little bit of my normal stress of trying to keep up with chat and talk about things off of the table, which allowed me to have what at this point is my best run of Puggsy. I did not lose sneakers. I did not take a death.
Yeah, and that's not by virtue of this game not being optimized. That was just a really good run. I mean, the only error in there was just missing that one skip and having to wait on the cycle.
Yeah, that one skip, and I would have been at sub 27, I think. But hey, we can save that for another day.
Next up is Mr. Shifty, or sorry, Buffet Time playing Mr. Shifty, any percent.
Buffet, Mr. Shifty. Never even heard of it, so it'll be fun for me to see. All right, guys, thanks. Take it easy. I am out of here.
Peace.